Hello, we're going to talk about benchmarking today. Compare yourself to the best. Over and over again, you hear people say that they don't know what they don't know in their business. And most of us only know what our history is, what our experiences are, what our beliefs are about our business. We really don't know. We think we're doing well in certain areas of our business, but I promise you, you'll be shocked when you start benchmarking yourself against the best. So again, expectations and what is benchmarking? Benchmarking is comparing your key KPIs, key performance indicators, SMART goals that you're going to set um, or maybe have set against others in the industry, and sometimes if you can't find that information, against when you've done your best. But are you as profitable as you'd like to be? Are you growing the way you'd like to? How's your cash flow? How's your gross profit margin percentage? How's your productivity? How's your profit? When I say how is it, how do you know if it's good or not? If you don't know what the best in your industry is able to do in those particular areas, you really don't know if you're doing as well as you could. And I'm going to give you a lot of examples to prove it. But do you need a catalyst to begin and take action? I believe you do. And we've talked about the numbers. You understand the key numbers and leverage to make a profit and increase your profits. Now you need to start looking at what are we really capable of doing here. The catalyst, I believe, is benchmarking. Benchmarking provides the shock value to raise expectations and then the courage to make the changes you need to make. When I say shock value, think of it this way. I've had time after time with my clients. Let's say, for instance, they had an average a revenue per employee or full-time equivalent of $150,000 a year. When we benchmarked, we found people that were doing in the same industry, same businesses, $300,000 per full-time equivalent. Do you think that would shock you? My guys are busy. How could they do any more? 150, maybe we can get to 160, 170. All of a sudden, here's a guy doing the same thing you are, and they're at $300,000. Wouldn't you like to find out how they do that? That's what benchmarking does. And then once you find out how they do that, and it's different from the way you're doing it, it gives you the courage to make the changes you need to make. Those best practices, they provide you the how-to. Once we find people that are doing much better than we are in certain numbers, then finding out how they're doing it, and I'm sharing that with you in these lessons, those best practices will give you the how-to and give you the courage to then make those changes. And coaching provides a process to follow through and execute them in your business, and that's what you've invested in this course. Maybe you attend meetings or industry conferences where you get together with other business owners, and invariably people walk away from them saying, well, the conference was okay, but really I got the most out of the meeting, going to dinner or into breaks or going to the bar and talking to other people in the industry. That's what I really learned a lot. That's what benchmarking's all about. What if there's a way to do it formally with facts and numbers and then ensure we come back to the office and implement those ideas? That's what benchmarking is all about, and that's what benchmarking will give you. I went to a conference about a year ago in Vegas, and we had a lot of industrial distributors at this conference, and my talk was on benchmarking. And so prior to the conference, I had them all send to me their gross profit percentage for the trailing year and their revenue per employee or full-time equivalent. These were the numbers I got. They were all in the same industry, all over the country, but all in the same industry. Gross profit percentage went from a low of 20% to a high of 55%. If you took the mean, it's probably somewhere in the mid 20s. But if you were sitting here at 20, 21, 22, wouldn't see people at 30, 31, 32, 37 say, wait a minute here. I can do a lot better than this. Same thing with revenue per employee. Here's a company that was doing $552,000 per employee, and the lowest one here was $150,000 per FTE. So if you were at 150 and you saw others in the 300s double what you were doing, wouldn't it spark some interest in how the heck do they do that? That's the power of benchmarking. Okay. I hope I've convinced you now. So there's two ways to do benchmarking. One is if starting is do intra-company benchmarking. So go back and pick 2 to 4 of your best quarters in your company's history. And then look at the metrics of those quarters. What was our gross margin percentage then? What was our revenue per employee? What was our contribution margin? All the KPIs and SMART goals that we've talked about that will leverage profit. Look at those quarters and say, hey, we did it then. There's no reason we can't do it now. It will give you some confidence, and it's a great way to start benchmarking. And then look at the industry. Go to associations. Many associations do benchmarking. Trade groups do benchmarking. Your CPA may be able to help you. Many CPAs have programs that they subscribe to that allow them to benchmark any industry, any kind of industry. And if you can't find it there, the university libraries normally have those services that you can use. So if you're alumni of a university or you have access to their library, many times they'll have these services that do benchmarking, and you can look up your industry. So those are all the places you can look to for benchmarking. So in summary, benchmark. It'll shock you. You don't know what you don't know. So go out there and find out what the best, 20% of the people and you'll find that some companies, as we saw in that other slide, some companies do better in maybe gross margin and other companies do better in revenue per employee or whatever you're benchmarking. So not everybody does great at all the numbers, but finding out what the best are doing at each one will give you something to shoot for. And again, it gives you the courage to make the changes. If you see other people doing it in your industry, in the similar markets, there's no reason that you won't have the courage to start making some of the changes you need to make to take your company to the next level.